Hey everybody, I'm Rick Beato. Today I'm talking with one of the most creative musicians of our time, mandolinist, singer, and composer, Chris Thile. You probably know him from his work with Nickel Creek and Punch Brothers, two groups that helped bring bluegrass back to the mainstream in the 2000s. But what's most remarkable about Chris is how far he's pushed the mandolin beyond its roots, exploring everything from jazz to classical and beyond, literally redefining what's possible on the instrument. But before we move on, remember to hit subscribe. Here's my interview. Chris, what's up?
What's up, Rick? It's so good
Chris,
to finally be here in this room with you.
I've been wanting to interview you for years, and I was like, who do I know that knows Chris? I mean, that's usually what, you know. But
I love that. Yeah,
that
it's funny, like the 6 degrees of separation in music. I mean, it's only like ever one, right?
It is only
like,
ever one, but you have to know that one.
Either one of us. It's like there's one person to just about anyone.
First of all, I held your mandolin for a second, and tell me about your mandolin.
Oh,
what is that like 1920? What
yeah,
is this?
This is a 1924 Gibson F5.
Okay.
So made in the Gibson factory in Kalamazoo,
And it's called
Michigan.
the Gibson.
The Gibson.
Yes. The Gibson.
The Gibson.
Yes.
Lest ye forget. But this is it's one of the holy grails. It's you want it signed by this guy here, Lloyd Loar, who's actually he studied at Oberlin.
Okay.
There in
L-O-A-R, right?
L-O-A-R. Lloyd Loar. He's kind of the Stradivarius of mandolins. I don't actually know if he built a single one of these things, but he designed them.
Okay.
And then he, you know, as this label says, the top, back, tone bars, and air chamber of this instrument were tested, tuned, and the assembled instrument tried and approved February 18th, 1924, signed Lloyd Loar. This is serial number 75318.
Okay.
And I also have 75316.
Okay. And how different do those sound?
They're, well, I would think to the more casual mandolin devotee, of which there are multitudes.
I know many.
I don't know. I think their similarities would be more striking than their differences. But to someone like, to a colleague of mine, the differences are fairly striking, given that they were almost certainly on the bench in Kalamazoo on the same days, you know. And funny thing, 75317, the one in between my two, that's John Paul Jones's Loar.
No way.
Yes, who I see a picture of right over there.
Right over there.
The Led Zeppelin jet. But yeah, he got 75317, and it is mighty. I'm particularly obsessed with this batch of the Lloyd Loar signed mandolins.
Okay, why?
So, you know, Loar signed, I think, in the neighborhood of like 250, 300 of these things. Not all of them, you know, survived, but a lot of them did. I mean, you know, it's a beautiful object. You're going to want to,
you're going to take care of it.
You're going to take care of it. It's not like if you're moving house, I don't know, in the 50s, you know, keep Dad's mandolin. You know, Loar was going along. I think they hired him sometime in 1922, I think, to kind of revive their mandolin program. They'd been selling lots of mandolins, but then mandolin was falling out of favor. Banjo was kind of taking over. I mean, I think it felt more sort of industrial revolution, metal, you know, kind of cool looking, louder.
Louder, yeah.
Much louder.
Yeah.
And so mandolins were falling out of favor, and they hired this hotshot acoustician to come in and, like, you know, sort of breathe new life into the mandolin. And he's the one who came up with putting violin-style F-holes in it instead of, like, previous to him, it was all oval holes.
Yeah.
Like a guitar. Or I guess those aren't oval, or they're pretty circular. But it was like oval holes in
same concept.
Yeah, and so he put F-holes, and that really complicated the tone in a beautiful way. He was really obsessed with the harmonic series, you know. So like that in every note, like when I play, whoa, that's all over the deck there. But when I play this, you hear the fundamental, of course, but you also hear less obvious is that you're also hearing da, and above
octave,
that da, and da,
fifth.
And then above that, the fourth, you know about all this stuff. But so the more of those you encourage out of the instrument, the more kind of rich, luscious, moving the tone becomes. And his theory was if you put violin F holes in it, like the great, violins of our time. That similarly they would become better and better instruments, and I think he was right about that.
For people that don't realize this, that the mandolin is the same tuning as a violin, exactly the same.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, so G, D, A, E were tuned in fifths, which just makes so much more sense to me than fourth, 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 and
It makes it's so confusing to me because everything is so far apart. And
for the mandolin? Okay, yeah.
When I play the mandolin, I think, wait, where is this note? Because I'm so used to playing in fourths.
You're still going.
Everything is so far apart.
Yeah, but thankfully, it is a little. I noticed that like an A flat scale on a violin is more comfortable. You don't have to be reaching quite so far. But also when you get up here, it's like you've got a little bit more acreage than a violin, which is nice.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he's going along. He does come up with some beautiful innovations. Lore does. The mandolins still aren't selling. He keeps working. He keeps developing. I feel like he hit his stride right before they fired him.
Okay.
Because it wasn't working. They weren't selling these things. This batch, the February 18th batch, there's two very famous batches. There's the July 9th, and that's like Bill Monroe's mandolin.
Of the same year, of 24.
This is 23.
23,
23, the July 9th, there's a bunch. There might be the most instruments signed on that day.
Okay.
Bill Monroe's is a July 9th.
Okay.
David Grisman's is a July 9th. Great mandolin.
Yep.
And then he keeps working. I love the finishes of it. It's so geeky, but I love this kind of like darker. They were a little bit more yellow earlier, more brown yellow. These are a little bit darker, a little chocolatey, like the finishes.
Yeah.
And could be psychosomatic. It's not though. I mean, if you blind tasted these things, they are also like a little darker, more chocolatey. Mandolin is such a, it's such a precise instrument. It's so this pick hitting metal strings. There's frets, pointillistic. Like you gotta you have to figure out a way to mellow it a little. Of course, that's a strength. You have to treat it as a strength, not a defect. The precision that a mandolin is capable of rhythmically, but you also want to do your best to like coax some like warmth and like flesh and blood, some soul out of it. And I feel like these later instruments have something about, maybe there's like some of the tops look to be wider grained, like maybe the wood breathes a little bit more. Maybe the tops were a little thinner, like allowing for more resonance. Right after this batch. So he would go on and make almost another year's worth of instruments after this batch. I think he got fired late in 24. But right after this, he develops this thing he called it a Verzi tone producer.
Okay.
Many of us snarkily refer to it now as the Verzi tone reducer.
What is that?
But it's this funny little wooden kind of disc that he attaches to the top of the instrument, and as far as I'm concerned, some people love them and bless them. It was on this batch that he started attaching that thing to the top.
Okay.
The ones that have it, for me, are less magical. The ones that
are they a little
don't
deader?
Have it, to me, yeah.
Okay.
They feel a little heavier. They sound a little deader to me.
Yeah.
Some people argue that there's more clarity in the high end. I'm not hearing it. And I feel like there's a reduction in some of that like warmth and like flesh and blood, soul feeling. Move the top, move air, affect the room, be able to pour yourself into it and trust that people are going to receive what you're pouring into it. So I'm looking for kind of the latest lures before that Verzi thing started getting attached to everything. And this batch, there's two batches of February 18th. There's this batch of serial numbers, which I think there's like 25 maybe, 25. And then there's he made a bunch of guitars or something, also February 18th. And then there's the later batch of February 18th.
Is it just that they signed the things on February 18th? They probably laid out all the pieces of paper that were to go inside everything.
Exactly.
Oh, we're going to glue these in today.
Exactly. I'm sure it's like months worth of building happening, and he's in there that day, like testing and signing off on these axes. But that later batch almost all of them have the Verzi, and even some of them from this batch have it. And then the thing is, a lot of people who get the ones with the Verzi have taken them out. I still don't think, because then he tuned them with the Verzi attached.
Right.
And so there's something.
Is it attached? Is it attached under the top of the guitar?
Yeah, under the top.
So
yeah,
when
right.
they what do? They just get the glue and they heat it and they get.
There's an amazing. My buddy Mike Marshall apparently has a tape. I think it was him and Todd Phillips. They got real high one night and took the top off and took the Verzi off.
Oh my
that's.
God.
Now,
has the top ever been
butchering that story? But
has
that's
the
how I
top
remember
ever been off that mandolin?
Not
or not
to my knowledge.
Okay.
No, and this one and the other one that I have, 75316, were marked by how original they were and how clean they were. Everything, all of this, this what you might consider to be evidence that this thing is 100 years old. I did all that. Before I got it, this thing looked like it might have been a 2024 mandolin instead of a 1924 mandolin. And
now, Chris, if you dropped that thing, I'm sure you dropped it before.
Dude, look at this. Okay, so here's a.
Oh
sorry.
God.
Here's the tone. Don't worry. This is nothing. This just keeps the back off of your body.
Got it.
The
Okay.
mandolin has little enough resonance without you further deadening it with your stomach.
Interesting.
So this kind of keeps it off. They make them for guitar too, but I don't think it's
I've
necessary.
never seen that before.
But so if you can look through that, there's a crack here.
Yes, I see
and
that.
that was me in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, playing at the University of North Carolina, and these, you would think, right? This is what I do for a living. You'd think I'd have like a bulletproof strap end pin situation.
Yeah.
But man, like these things change so much. Especially this old, totally dried out wood changes a lot with the fluctuations in humidity and temperature and all that. And so it was just on one of those, flew out while I was like taking a bow or whatever, and I catch it. The audience gasps, and I catch it, and they applaud. They saw it all happen, and I clutch it to me, but I felt a little something, and I look back at the end, and this big old crack had opened up in the back of it. But here's the thing, man.
It sounds.
And
better.
I think it might. Like after the repair, it was a little wonky while it was still open, but after. Tom Crandall, just my incredible luthier in New York, who owns I think he's a very famous guitar shop, actually. Tom's always got the best stuff. But I think many people don't understand like what an incredible setup guy he is. So he did this, and I swear to God, like every little weird thing that you do to the instrument just makes it more itself. And also, while we're here,
Yeah.
like, again, the thing was totally original, but the original fingerboards of these things don't play in tune.
Okay.
And like, yeah, I know it's original, but if it's not in tune.
Okay, so that fingerboard is a new fingerboard.
It's a new
How new
fingerboard.
is it, though? It's not that new.
Well, I know I had it built, and it's gorgeous. I think, did I have Steve Gilchrist do this one? I think he did. He's like, Steve Gilchrist is just sort of the master mandolin builder of our time.
Okay.
And like a pretty intense devotee, particularly of Lloyd Loar's instruments. And so he's the guy. If you want to mess with your Loar, he's always also doing the work under
Chris,
duress.
I'm never going to have a Loar mandolin.
You should have one. You should have one of all people.
Okay,
Sicilian
so
heritage.
were you there when he took the the fingerboard off? Where is the
No,
fingerboard?
he
You
would
have the fingerboard,
I would
right?
have had to deal with him complaining about it the whole time because he doesn't want to modern. He's so in awe of what Loar and the
Do you have
Gibson
to take
factory.
the binding off, or what?
I think he must have, and he kind of like aged this binding to kind of match the original.
Oh my God.
I have the original board.
Yeah. What do you do with it? Just like have it in a drawer somewhere or something?
Yeah, it's there. So it could, it could theoretically be restored
But it's
to
never
original
gonna go back.
condition, but like
Right.
I'm never gonna let go of this thing.
Yeah.
I should have had the guts. I guess you don't necessarily know how attached to an instrument you're gonna get when you first get it. I mean, you love it enough to buy the thing.
Yeah.
And it was, not an insignificant investment. But like you don't know, and you do kind of want to protect yourself. Like, what if I fall out of love with it, or find one I I love more. So rather than basically modernizing the existing board, which might have been cool because like that old ebony is denser. Climate change has taken its toll on the ebony stock. You got to find someone who has antique ebony, you know, so that it's got that density. And you never know, like the old hide glue, like what? Like not to get so geeky, but like what is it that makes this thing itself? Like, ugh. But I was still nervous enough it's a new board.
When you got it back, did it take a minute? Did it sound completely different?
Yeah. I mean,
did it freak you out?
Yeah, a lot. It was definitely different. But you also never know, because like the thing sounds different today than it did yesterday.
Yes.
Like they all...
It sounded different yesterday. I didn't hear it yesterday, but it sounded different.
That's how different it sounds, you know, for you.
Much louder today.
But yeah, it does. So you never know, like, oh my God, did I just ruin my beautiful instrument? Or is it just one of those
You gotta
days?
try.
You know, you have to do the thing, and it's gotta be in tune. Like I can't be...
Yes, Chris, you play all these weird chords that mandolin players don't play. The tune you were just playing before we started.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I want you to actually play that because you play a million different chord voicings in there that no mandolin players play except for you.
Oh, well, there's... okay, so that thing...
But that's true, that's right. And this has to really be in tune when you play things with a lot of... Anything that has a lot of dissonances and things like that.
Yeah, if you start getting crunchier with your harmony, you want to make sure that it's just like if you're explaining a difficult concept, you want to make sure you're as clear about it as possible. Like you're explaining it as simply as humanly possible, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the same with harmony. If you're gonna get further afield, you know, than 1, 4, and 5, which remember Lou Reed would say, if you're using 3 chords, you're pushing it. 2, you're okay. Or wait, no. If you're using 2 chords, you're pushing it.
Right.
3, and you're into jazz? Is that what he says?
Oh, yeah.
1 chord, you're fine. 2, you're pushing it. 3, you're into jazz. But the further afield you get, you just want to make sure that people trust what they're hearing. But yeah, that thing. You know, funny thing about this. So this is called Goddamn Saint. And it was on the most recent Nickel Creek record. Nickel Creek was kind of my first project. And if you know, I guess maybe if someone knows me, chances are they know me from that.
Yeah.
Or you know, who knows what it is. They've been so
Nickel Creek started in the 1970s, right?
Like feels like it. 89. I was born in 81.
I mean, it was almost the 1970s.
Yeah, it was. It was a hell of a lot closer than now. But 89, we started in, so I was 8. Sarah Watkins, our fiddle player, was also 8, and Shaun Watkins was 12. And my dad played bass back then. And so we were this little kid band kind of traveling around playing bluegrass festivals, sometimes competing in band contests, also playing like Riders in the Sky covers.
Nice.
We got a quote from Too Slim from Riders in the Sky who said, "Nickel Creek, they're like Riders in the Sky on helium." And I was pretty, like, if you go track down that music, I mean, it is, it's like, apple trails to you. It's pretty, it's like 3-part harmony. It really does sound kind of like a Chipmunks record. But yeah, we're still a band. We've taken a couple hiatuses for, you know, at first it was like we really needed to find ourselves, I think, as individuals. It was you know, an unbroken stretch of making music together from when I was 8 to 26.
And just so people know, you're 44.
44, yeah.
44,
as of, what is it, October 8th?
Happy birthday.
No. I mean, as of today. My birthday's February 20th. 45, whoa. But yeah, we had this record come out when I was 19 or 20. It's 19. It was like our first thing on a proper label. Sugar Hill, so kind of a roots label, but you know, felt very proper to us.
Absolutely.
And it sort of accidentally sold 1 million records, but it was like, it was a weird moment, because it was it didn't, necessarily sell a million records because it had a big hit on it or anything. It came out at roughly the same time as the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack.
2002, was it?
No, it was like 2000 on the dot, I think.
2000, okay.
And maybe Oh Brother was like 01, but like our record was out, and so it became, people would name check us as like evidence that there was a movement happening. Like even young people do this shit.
Yes.
So it's like, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I'm like, isn't this cool? And Alison Krauss is a big part of it. And you guys know Alison Krauss, right? And so it's like, if you had one bluegrass record, it was Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And if you had two, you had Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And the latest Alison record.
Right.
And if you had three, maybe you had Nickel Creek's record. Because it would be like, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Alison Krauss. And this kid band. I mean, we weren't kids anymore, but we're starting to look like young adults, and they were dressing us like the stars of Dawson's Creek, and like, Creek even. And so, like all of a sudden I had frosted tips, and there was a stylist, and they reshot the cover because we looked like little, country bumpkins on the cover of the first cover, and then started looking like dashing young people the second. Anyway, it was a whole thing, and they put a couple music videos out on CMT, and CMT was in this moment where they wanted to prove that they could sell records by themselves without country radio. They wanted to get a little bit more leverage with big acts, and managers were going like, yeah, but I mean, it was country radio that sold those records, so they didn't have any leverage in whatever negotiations were afoot. I don't know. We were getting absolutely no radio play, and this guy, Chris Parr, I think is his name, really sweet guy, but he was like, well, look, this band isn't getting any radio play. We're gonna spin the crap out of it. And so we had like a couple #1 videos on CMT, because it was like he wanted.
Well, this was the real bluegrass explosion that happened then. When I interviewed Allison, she talked about this, that all of a sudden it was a massive thing.
Yeah.
I remember everybody was talking about bluegrass. Everybody was listening to bluegrass.
And is it like, does this kind of happen every 20 years or so?
No, I don't think
there was like Deliverance.
Ever happened again.
No, but remember Deliverance?
Yeah, true.
Right? And so then everybody's wanting to hear, because there's always like a bluegrass song everybody wants to hear. And so then it was, everyone wants to hear dueling banjos. And then it was Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And everyone wants to hear, I am a man of constant sorrow. And now it's Billy.
That's true.
I think it's about 20 years.
It is about 20 years. Oh my God, well, it's 25 years probably.
Yeah. But so, and God, and bless it, I saw Billy live finally. Like, I saw him ages ago when he would be like the first thing on at a bluegrass festival on Sunday morning.
Billy played, when he was here, he played 2 nights at the State Farm Arena. Sold out. Massive. Yes, unbelievable.
I love it. So we saw him at an arena. It was the second of 2 sold out nights at whatever the arena is in St. Louis, and it was amazing to see him playing that music. And I mean, fuck, does he ever play it and sing? I think we gloss over the singing.
He's a phenomenal
because the guitar playing
singer.
is so conspicuous.
Yes,
but the singing is
he's such a great singer.
Freaking spectacular. Yeah. Anyway, and he's magnetic on stage. The whole nine. It's a delight. He had us up, and so like now I'm playing these songs that I've been playing around a campfire since I was 5 years old, and like 20,000 people just like screaming their heads off, and they know it. He's like taught this audience this music, or they've all found, maybe they grew up with it and they've like kind of found this. It's almost like he's like the campfire builder, and people who like me who grew up with it, they can all kind of like moth to his flame. It's like, yes, this music is a part of my life, and but the originals are killing anyway. But yeah, it's kind of conspicuous, right? Like Deliverance.
That's true.
And
I forgot about
before,
Deliverance.
By the way, before Deliverance, I think it was like mid 50s or 60s when Beverly Hillbillies came out, and so
Yeah.
then it was
Early 60s. Yes.
you know, poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed. You'd probably get an email about that one.
Had you not sung that, I wouldn't have. No,
Just
that's
play
true.
it.
No,
You can just
I
chop-
guarantee
chop it.
you that'll be a. No, I'm going to leave it in just out of curiosity.
Great,
No.
let's just see.
You've played these songs. I mean, you did Man of Concesero, you did a little bit of Dueling Banjos, and you did the Beverly Hillbillies
Oh, yeah.
theme. Do you know anything other than the first couple bars? Like, could you play the Beverly Hillbillies theme?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. It's in there. But doesn't everyone can do it, right? Let me tell you a story about a man named Jed. Poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed. Then one day he was looking for some food, and out of the ground come a bubbling crude. Yes,
Crude.
crude oil, that is. Black gold.
Texas tea.
Texas tea. Next thing you know, Jets. Of course, everybody, you know. It's
Everybody
in
my
there.
age knows that.
Right. Well, and anyone who grew up around the campfire.
Yeah.
It's like those touchstones where or it's like this, it's that moment where the aesthetic that you thought was your weird little thing becomes like one of the cultural touchstones.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, and do you know about this? And do you know about this? And they're fun little moments. And then we all go back to like, it's just the aesthetic that I understand.
Well, how do you go from there to all the weird chords and
I love it. Okay. Well, yeah. So you know what's so fun about that? You know, the canon, like the bluegrass canon. Certainly, Lou Reed would be mostly appeased.
Yeah, he'd be fine with
two,
that.
3 chords.
Yeah.
3 chords. Again, we're pushing it, but at least they're the ones you expect.
yeah.
And so it's very communal, very convivial. Like I grew up in Southern California, and there's all these amazing bluegrass festivals. And so it's Southern California, so people are sneaking, Beach Boys covers into their bluegrass sets and things like that. But there's nothing really, tradition is innovation that sticks, right? I mean, Bill Monroe was messing with everything, and so if we were to really honor the spirit of that, we're going to constantly be looking for our own, expression of these tools that we have. But so you're growing up playing these very simple songs around the campfire, awesome songs, great, like very cool storytelling a lot of the time, great melodies, really beautiful. On most of the classics, incredible relationships between the verses and the choruses, like doing some of the classic, here's why the chorus pops kind of thing. Like
Yeah.
the verse hangs out here and then the chorus, just textbook writing. Really satisfying, and stuff that for instance, a little kid like me could like wander up to this campfire and people be like, sure, cute, and kick into something, but like I kind of know what I'm doing and hear the song and learn the song, and by the time that the third solo rolls around and someone looks at me for a joke, I'm ready. and then they're like, it was so it was so fun. So it was always and I'm just a card carrying show off, and back then I loved getting I loved the music first and foremost, but then I also discovered how much I loved getting a rise out of the other people around the campfire, and so it that kind of stoked this, we're loath to talk about this kind of thing now. It's very unfashionable, but it stoked some of that competitive.
Absolutely.
Like accomplishment. I want to achieve, and I want to accumulate ability, and I want to, stoked some of that. Never like wholly divorced from just the love of making music, and particularly making music with and for other humans.
Yeah.
But it's there, and it is baked into that of all musical traditions. There's a lot of like there's a lot of toxic masculinity baked into the bluegrass canon. There's a lot of like, and wanting to like take your solo and like freaking blow everybody away. You know, like Shredder, freaking 80s Guitar Hero stuff. Of course. It's, you know, it's there. There's a lot of the other two.
I mean, that's been going on in music forever, really, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Charlie Parker on the jam sessions and
absolutely
cutting people. That's
athleticizing the act of making music. Very tempting. Very tempting.
Okay, so how do you get to all these weird chords,
right? Well,
Chris?
so the ambition, they like kind of comes in and wanting to. So then it's like all of a sudden, instead of my dad's jazz record collection, so dad played a bunch of jazz bass growing up, and had ambitions of becoming a professional bassist.
And where did he go to school?
We were in Southern California, North San Diego County specifically, and then moved to a little mountain town called Idlewild. But right before he met my mom real young, but right before he proposed to my mom, he had been accepted to the New England Conservatory.
Yep.
And was planning on going there, but then was like, I think, Dad, if I'm getting this wrong, I'm sorry. And Mom, but I think he was like, she won't wait for me if I do that, and so I'm gonna stay. Let's get married, and I got to figure out a way to actually like make some money. And he became a piano technician. Turns out though, almost all the people on my mom's side of the family are professional musicians.
Okay,
almost everyone. And the reason I say turns out is I was so into this bluegrass world, like the folk kind of rootsy world, that I didn't even hardly clock that they were where all the music was.
And what kind of
coming
professional
from.
musicians? What
this is? Couple piano teachers.
Okay.
Who if they had been wired differently, could have been concert pianists, very, very good musicians. My great aunt Rosie played cello in the Ottawa Symphony for years.
Okay.
My grandpa Bob, that's my mom's dad, studied composition with Milton Babbitt.
My God.
Yeah, heavy cat.
Okay.
So Milton Babbitt being the sort of father of American serialism, I think, or certainly one of the titans of it.
Yes.
And so Grandpa Bob would write, thorny, like serialist choral music. I have some of his choral stuff. I have like a string quartet that he wrote. He started the electronic music department at Iowa University. I think maybe also Illinois. He taught composition at Indiana University. He moved around a lot.
Oh my gosh! So serious musician.
Very serious musician.
Yeah.
And my grandma Celia, my grandma Sal, my aunt Rosie, and then a lot of their children became professional musicians as well. But I was like on this little island being, a little bluegrass boy. And I feel like it took a second for them to realize that there was some real, like the family music was in there, because again, it's like, it's a lot different if you're used to like, and you're hearing, this little kid play like, in our little cabin home on the hill, but it would be like, in our little cabin home on the hill. Like, that would be, very, I think it was confusing for them.
Right.
And eventually they found out how serious I was about it. And both of my grandpa Bob, the composition professor, he remarried, again, piano teachers both times.
Okay.
And so it was my step-grandma Sal who sat me down with Glenn Gould's second recording of the Goldberg Variations.
Okay.
And again, so Dad's jazz collection was already starting to seep in there. I was starting to get more interested in the chords that Lou Reed would have less patience for.
Wouldn't approve of.
Yeah, and or that indeed like the other people around the campfire would start being like, But then up to that point, so my dad, piano technician, I mean, there was classical music bouncing around. And of course, I was aware that my grandmas were piano teachers, but again, it seemed so different. And I always had this sense that rhythmically it was divorced from my body, at least. Like I didn't feel it at all. People playing and taking all this time and it's just like, for me, it's just like a wig and, at that point.
Yes.
I wanted to hear people like freaking lay into, and like, and so it took, so the Gould's second recording of the Goldbergs is so, like the rhythmic integrity.
Was that the one he did in, 81 or so?
Yes.
Yes.
Because the year I was born.
Yeah, he did
And
two, I mean, like, how many years apart? 30 years apart or something. He did it right before he died. He died in 82.
Yeah, it was like 50, exactly. And I think the first one is 55, like 1955 he did, and that's the crazy fast one. But I'm glad she didn't play that one for me.
Right.
Because I would have gotten distracted by the fireworks of it.
Yeah.
Instead of, Gould. So she starts with the aria, and of course it's beautiful. That I don't actually know it. But then he hits that first variation, and it's. You could freaking bop that shit at the club.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, everybody would be just like, it's so, you could set your watch by it. It's such a rhythmically precise recording that is so deeply felt. And of course, Gould's in the background going like, the engineer's trying to like, but he's just hammering it and he can't help himself. So there's like this abandon, so visceral. And it blew the doors off for me. It was like, oh shit, you can play anything, however you want, with whatever intention you want. So I have, as someone coming from, the bluegrass world, I have all the license that I want with anything. If something captures my attention, then I can digest it and regurgitate it however I please. I can ingest the thing and let it become a part of me, and then see what kind of roots it takes and how it can flower. And so that experience, I think, is what led me to so from Bach to Mozart, and from Mozart to Beethoven, from Beethoven to Brahms, and from Brahms to like Stravinsky and Bartók, and on to the great composers of our day, Thomas Addis, and so it was like a never-ending chain, and that was happening simultaneously with like finding so of course starting with like Miles, and going to Coltrane, and then finding my dad going like, you need to know who Chick Corea is, and then finding Bill Evans, and then Brad Meldau, and Josh Redman, and so on and so forth. And then that also concurrently over on the other side of the thing, like mom and dad were like, shit, he doesn't know anything about the Beatles. And went and got Rubber Soul from the library and brought it back. And so then it was like, that it was the Beatles and the Beach Boys.
Now, did that connect with you immediately when you heard the Beatles? Yeah, I mean, that is...
And here's the really bizarre thing. The copy of, like, it was a cassette tape of Rubber Soul that they got from the library.
Yeah.
And like, maybe this wouldn't have happened had someone had recorded I've Just Seen a Face over Baby You Can Drive My Car. So there was no Baby You Can Drive My Car. It went from I've Just Seen a Face to Norwegian Wood.
Okay.
And so that's how I thought the record went. And I've Just Seen a Face is a fucking bluegrass song.
It is a bluegrass
You know,
song.
I've just seen a face, I can't forget the time or place where we just met. She's just, I mean, that minor 6 was a little bit like, ooh, she's just a girl for me, and I want all the world to see we've met. Da, 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 da. Falling. I mean, come on, that's a freaking bluegrass chorus. Falling, yes, I'm falling, and she keeps calling. And you're singing like that's a Bill Monroe style.
That's right, exactly.
Tenor line.
Exactly.
Like, falling, yes, I'm falling, and she keeps calling me back again. Right? There's even kind of a freaking solo.
There is.
And so that was like, if I had turned that record on and it had been, you know, Sonic Girl.
Wait, well, what was there? It was nothing there or something in the beginning of the tape, and you're fast forwarding it till the song starts, or what?
No, it just started with I've Just Seen a Face.
That's crazy.
Like they dubbed it, because I've Just Seen a Face isn't on Rubber Soul, right? I think someone just hated, you could, like, who hates Baby You Could Drive My Car? Who could hate that song? But I think I might have been able to hate it, like based on where I was coming from. So I've Just Seen a Face was like, oh, the Beatles are hip, like they know our vibes. Like this is clearly very like bluegrass informed.
Yeah.
And so then freaking Norwegian Wood is also like a waltz, like a folk,
That's right,
a
it
folk
is.
waltz.
Yeah.
So then, you know, we get to what is it like? Well, I call you up.
Yeah. You want to see me?
And so then I'm ready for that. And so yeah, Beatles to Beach Boys to like, God, then it was the pop music of my time. So I remember, God, Counting Crows hit me so hard.
Yeah.
Because here's this really confessional, so much of the music that I had sung up to that point is about a way of life that I had zero connection to. You know, little cabin homes on the hill, like I was born in freaking suburban San Diego. You know, suburban San Diego. And then we moved to this little mountain town, but it was like a hippie mountain town. It wasn't,
Of course.
it wasn't like a coal mining mountain town, you know? And so I'm kind of singing all these theoretical, you know, I mean, going from like, why did I leave my plow in the field and look for a job in the town, to like a murder ballad, you know, like singing Long Black Veil. And shit like that. And then like here's this Counting Crows song where the guy's like clearly singing about his
Round
own
here,
stuff.
all this stuff. Yeah.
Step out the front door like a ghost into a fog where no one notices the contrast of white on white. Like hearing this guy like break apart with emotion, and I'd never heard anything like that. I'm hearing
Amazing, yeah.
I'm hearing like, you know, kind of this hee-haw, like Grand Ole Opry style emotion. Like, yes, there's crazy emotion baked into some of these lyrics, but they're kind of delivered with this like, you know, shit-eating grin and a wink to the camera and a bunch of virtuosity. And so all of a sudden, like, you know, hearing Adam Duritz sing like he's, you know, on the just doorstep of abject despair hit me really hard. And then it was, you know, eventually it's like Radiohead and going like, oh, you can do anything in the guise of anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can be as ambitious as you know, Schoenberg, and play a freaking mandolin in a bluegrass band. You know, there's just no whatever you hear, whatever lights you on fire, and you ingest like you know, the flamingo eating shrimp, you know, becomes pink, like whatever it is. But that flamingo looks way different than a shrimp. And so, you know, what are you gonna do with these things? And it's all bouncing around in there. And like I always, if anyone, you know, whenever I teach young musicians, you know, you don't want to be scared of your influences. You don't want to be scared to like wear your influences on your sleeve, but you also don't want to be scared of your influences. You don't want to assume that they're right, that their musical instincts are right and that yours are wrong until they match theirs. And so, you know, so much of the time, your compositional voice is the realization of those little moments of dissatisfaction you have with the music of your heroes. And there's like, they did this thing.
That's really interesting.
You hear something based on the direction they were headed.
Yes.
You heard a different thing.
Right.
Sometimes, and you have to be, you have to be on yourself with this kind of stuff. Sometimes the thing that you hear in your head was, yes, the very logical conclusion of the steps that they took. And what makes them brilliant is they set you up to expect this. They did a different thing that exceeded your expectations instead of meeting your expectations. And that's greatness. But sometimes your inherently musical self has followed these steps to a different, very surprising, very satisfying conclusion and write that song.
Ends up becoming what your style is.
Yes.
Are those things that where you think differently from learning from these influences of yours, and like, oh, I think it should have gone here, and then you figure that out, and then these things eventually become your vocabulary.
Yes, exactly. And like so you can thoroughly ingest,
This is where you come up with all your weird. This is where you come up with all your weird chords.
This is like the longest way of answering your question
of all your non-mandolin, your non-mandolin chords.
Yeah,
there are no mandolin chord books that have any of those chord voicings in them.
No. You've got this of course, like taking this chord, which is the first chord everyone learns on the mandolin.
I even know that chord.
Yes, and moving that around. So since that, you move it here and cover these up. So that's your main thing, or like the bluegrass phrasing is always like this. You've got a bass player, you got a guitar player taking care of the root, so it's okay if the fifth is at the bottom of your chord as a mandolin player, and it gives you that, you can definitely then mute it, because your job as a mandolin player in a bluegrass band is you're the snare drum, and so so you're always like muting your chords, and it really impacts the voicings.
Yeah.
So you are digging yourself a deep rut. Becoming a bluegrass mandolin player, all of a sudden you want to try and back yourself up on something, and you're going, you approach it,
downbeats.
Yeah. If you're like, was in the spring, one sunny, you better hope people are hearing that vocal as one, or else they're going to be turned around the whole performance.
Right.
They're going to be like, and one, I can't even do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. But of course it's 1, 2, 3. But like, you have to start. If you play an instrument that's this, sort of limited in range, especially. This is the lowest note I've got. Just like a violin, it's the G below middle C. That's not very low. So much of the time I'm having to create the illusion, if I'm playing solo, I have to create the illusion that this is lower than I'm singing.
Yeah.
Which often it's not. So it's an interesting thing. But that song that you heard, it's actually about so much of this stuff. We had Nickel Creek. We were raised, all three of us raised very, very Christian, very like fundamentalist Christian. And I think there were some really beautiful aspects of that. And then there were some aspects of it that were difficult for us. Sometimes it can be hard to pursue a life of creativity if you're being taught that there's kind of always a right and a wrong way of doing things, and that your way is right, and anyone who believes something else is wrong. And I'm not saying that that's how Christianity always works, or even usually works, but it's at times it was how the Christianity that we were raised with worked. Again, like very, this is it. You do this, you go to heaven. You do that, And so all of a sudden we're on the road, like we're touring, where we have opening acts, or we are the opening act, and we're meeting all these musicians, like wide open-eared, wide open-armed musicians, kind of like out there in the world creating the way that people create, with their ears and eyes wide open, observing the world. and sort of editorializing it for themselves, or turning it into just sound, whatever it is. But you have to be looking at the world and hearing the world, and we're seeing that happen. And so it's, we're looking at the world and we're hearing the world. And we were touring with Glenn Phillips. Do you remember the band Todd Ladner? Sprocket? So Glenn. I love Glenn. He's a tremendous musician, great songwriter. We had been big fans, but still am, a big fan of Toad the Wet Sprocket, and those, some really, really smart, emotive music making that Glenn was into. He is one of the, just like, of all the people that I could sit down and have a conversation with. He's a person that I feel like actually I'm in dire need of some Glenn talks, especially now, with the world being what it is. But so I was coming in all hellfire and brimstone, but this guy's a hero of mine, and I love his songs, and I see that he's coming from a different worldview. I love him right from the get-go of starting to hang out, and so my instinct as a fundamentalist Christian is like, I need to save this guy's soul. So we started having long talks on the bus at night with me talking about here's why, and on and so on and so on, and he's like listening. Really actually listening. And there's also beautiful teachings that I was given as a child that I'm communicating, and he's hearing that. And he, kind of from a more Buddhist standpoint, is engaging me in real conversation, a real back and forth, such as I have not experienced in a long time with another human being. As few chances as we get in this day and age to like sit down with someone that we don't know that well, but have enough respect for, to where we're gonna like try and meet them where they are.
And he's a little bit older than you, right?
Yeah. So he was 10 years
I think
old,
maybe
10 years older than me. But also how like, if you have a certain relationship with music, my experience has always been that those years that separate you melt away.
Yeah, they don't matter.
If you have, like, I've experienced it with musicians who are far younger than me, like getting to hang out with like Maddie Cunningham, who's maybe she's 15 years younger than me, something like that. But like the minute, she started playing the guitar, opened her mouth, and I heard the lyrics she was writing, it was just like, we're equals. I hope we're equals. Maybe you're already like have shot 10, 15 years beyond me. But it evaporates, that kind of thing. And
So Glenn is listening to you.
Glenn is listening to me in good faith. He, I think we're both in there, like with enough, like this like love for each other is blooming, and respect is blooming to the point where it's like, you both want to hear this person out, and you also want to change their mind. It was like both of those things at the same time, but it was in good faith. I was listening to him, he was listening to me. It wasn't shut down. It wasn't only, I'm going to change your mind. Because like once a human being detects that you're a brick wall, and that you're only in it to try and change the way that they think, they'll shut right down.
Right.
Just shut right down. And they'll feel the lack of respect, and they'll leave. You're going to have to like talk about sports instead. And even that might be dangerous. So that's where this is coming from. I wrote this recently, and like I only kind of put all the feelings together. So already kind of an unconventional mandolin chord, and it's just two notes. Once upon softer times, I met a man who made some records I admired. Though he wrote like a sinner, as far as I could understand, from the front pew of my choir. But now I watched as he walked the wall like a goddamn saint. And one of the walls I'd built around what I thought I felt came tumbling down. and a trickle of light shone in from somewhere I hadn't been since I'd been told to quit poking around, as if God himself were saying, go on, it'll be okay. You've got a goddamn saint with you now. Thus, upon softer times, we bared our souls in the good old-fashioned hope of changing one another. I recited parables, and he listened with an openness. I heard as clear as any words he could have preached or prayed. Do not fear his word, and it will bring you strength. Lay down your sword and shield, and the other three walls I built around what I thought I felt came tumbling down. And a torrent of light shone in. He said, are you coming, friend? I said, what the hell? And went poking around like a goddamn saint who lives to see and seeks to test what he believes. Then times got harder. I find my choir has ceased to sing, and my thoughts have ceased to sing, 'cause I won't even have a drink with anyone who disagrees, like I've forgotten that the well I'm drawn from stems from disagreements with people who believe that we can only change someone as much as we're willing to be changed.
You can only change someone as much as they're willing to be changed.
As you're willing
As you're
to be
willing to be
changed.
changed.
Yeah.
The harmony in the song is beautiful, but it's like a through composed song, essentially.
Yeah, in essence. I mean, there's still, in its sneaky way,
It still has sections in
It's
it that are,
still kind of, yeah,
that
in
are
a way-
recognizable. But what made you think to write about
so
that?
for that one, so it's on this Nickel Creek record called Celebrants. It's our that band's most recent record. And we were, the muse throughout was sort of togetherness, seeing, the polarization just increase. And having this sense that some of it was the lack of friction that we were encountering. Of course, God, think pieces have been written, till we're all blue in the face about how algorithms and such push us towards things that we already like, to people that we already agree with. Some music we already like, people we already agree with. The amount of preaching to the choir that happens is incredible, and like in the literal meaning of the word, and then kind of leaving us all the more stunned when we encounter a counterpoint to our point, and unable to kind of deal with that friction and just running from it, like dropping a grenade and running, just kind of seeking to destroy that alien thought, and so thinking about all of that together, you know, I'm thinking about how my mind was changed over the years. Like, how did that happen? Like, can that happen now? Like, I was just lucky enough to live in, you know, as I say at the top of the tune, once upon softer times. You know, and kind of using that wordplay of like, we're always talking about hard times. Stephen Foster has hard times, and Gillian Welch has a gorgeous hard times song. You know, the times being hard is a really useful trope, and it seems like, as Aeneas Mitchell says in Hadestown, hard and getting harder all the time. And so thinking about like the early 2000s as being softer times comparatively was helpful.
Yeah.
And then thinking about, you know, so knowing I was coming from this very, you know, dogmatic perspective, and had a you know, series of conversations and interactions with this hero of mine who had a very different perspective, and like, how did that happen? So trying to think about it in the context of how I'm feeling now, where like I'm as guilty as dropping the grenade and leaving as anyone.
Speaking of algorithms, if you like this, you'll like this because it sounds exactly like the previous thing, right? So this is fed into music becoming really homogenous, right?
Yeah.
Especially popular music.
Yeah.
And then you go back to, you know, the early 1700s, and there's this guy, Johann Sebastian Bach, that created this music that's endured hundreds of years. Part of it is because it's the greatest music to me that's ever been created. And as Pat Metheny said to me when I interviewed him, compared to Bach, we all suck. And I thought that was like, that pretty much sums it up.
That's kind of the feeling, right?
Pat's like, well, compared to Bach, we all suck. It's like,
well, it was
okay.
Our conversation last night, like we brought that up. It's like really all arguments about the greatest musicians of all time start after number one.
That's right. This like kind of just moves on after that.
And usually,
so how did this guy that
Yeah.
lived 1685 to 1750 write all this music, an insane amount of music that is so beautiful, so diverse, so ahead of its time, but yet still speaks to people?
Why? Yeah.
300 some odd years later. How is that possible? And it's also some of the most challenging music ever written to the ear, playing technically.
The density, like like contrapuntal.
Yes.
Line against line against line against line.
I was thinking about the D minor partita, one of the movements that you play that has some insanely, I mean, all of these partitas, these violin partitas that you play in mandolin, have incredibly challenging parts to them.
Yeah, there's a lot. It's funny. I know which one you're talking about. The Giga, probably, right? The, like,
yeah,
it has
that's
like
right. That's right.
like that kind of vibe.
Chris, how do you just pick up the thing and just start in the middle of that?
Well, I wanted to get to like a thorny, like one of the ones
Yeah.
that's like, you know, all of that kind of thing.
Yes.
And that it's fast, and the funny thing is that one of all of them,
Yeah.
might be the easiest one, like for me at least.
Yeah.
It plays to the mandolin's strengths, you know, fast notes. Mandolin has always been that's your man.
Yeah.
Dolin. For fast repeated notes. Some of those shapes lay really well. Sometimes
I wonder if do they lay well on the violin from violinists that you've talked to?
I'd say the Giga at least does. Sometimes
Yeah. What's
Bach
something
being-
that does not lay well?
Yeah. Okay. Well, so for mandolin, of course, that can be a different conversation than for the violin. So, you know, I'm thinking like, how
I was thinking like the G minor fugue.
Oh yeah, the G minor fugue. Right. thing about this is that like all those like chords and things actually lay probably arguably, I mean, of course, any violinist feel free to you know, disagree, but mandolin is a chording instrument. Like it's not hard.
Now, you know, Andre Segovia did that in A minor.
Did he?
Yes. He transcribed that and played it in A minor.
Interesting.
Yeah. I know that because I learned it off a cassette. He played it at the White House in 1976. And I learned it by ear off this cassette that I made of him playing. I was like, who's this Andre Segovia guy?
God, he was amazing. Wasn't he the guy that would like just sit there until the audience was completely silent? By his estimation before he would play a note. Love it.
Okay, wait, that's easy to play though.
That one's not so bad.
Okay, give me something hard, Chris. What's hard?
Okay, well, another one of the fugues.
Okay.
And this, I think any violinist would agree with me that this one just doesn't lay. So it's the C major fugue.
Okay.
And that one, so it starts innocuously enough. You know, it's like people call it the London Bridge is falling down fugue because right, fine. Here comes the second line, the second statement of the fugue theme. All fine. We're gonna start getting right here. Like, here's a moment where you have to choose. Like, are you gonna let this chord go? Certainly, the intention is to hear ring while this happens. So you could do something like I'm doing here, where the bar, you're barring on these two, and then letting the natural anatomy of the hand put your second knuckle in a place where you could fret that F, but it's
really
unreliable.
Awkward. Yes, unreliable,
so
yes.
What I do is I make the bet that if I can keep the A and the E ringing, you won't notice the C sharp disappear if I go, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I make that bet in that moment.
Yeah.
But then it creates a real kind of death-defying move of like, how long can I hold on to this F before I have to jump to this A on the D string?
Oh, that's awkward.
And then I definitely have to bar here with that second knuckle, right? So all of that is a little hairy, and you're 30 seconds into the piece, 20 seconds into the piece. You don't want to make a big ass deal of it, musically speaking. And that's where this piece is going to be. The way I play it, it's about 9 minutes long.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've heard versions of it that are more like 12. It just depends on the tempo you're taking and what time you take and where. But so you got a long time to sustain both
Chris, when you do that pinky going, what was it, A to F or something?
Yeah, F to A.
F to A. That seems so unreliable to go down a fret back and go back, and you do it with a kind of a swipe. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Now that seems to me that would be unreliable, but it's like you're just gonna go no problem.
Well, you got to get your Malcolm Gladwell on.
You did that 10,000 times, right? Okay, let me ask you this. How many repetitions of something do you do to make it a reliable fingering?
There's no...
Do you have anything like that? They said Horowitz would do something like 120 times without a mistake, and he'd be a reliable fingering.
I love and admire like the way, like especially in like classical pedagogy. Am I saying that word right?
Yeah.
Like where there are these kind of sports-like methods. You do it like this, and you do it this many. Like Dorothy DeLay, like you must never change a fingering sooner than 5 days before a concert.
Okay, so
later than 5 days before.
I ask people about this. I love Martha Argerich. She's one of my favorite pianists, and she's now 84 years old, and she's still playing the Prokofiev Third Piano Concerto and things like that. But I always wonder, does she ever play a fingering any different? Do people do that? And then some people tell me, oh yeah, people change fingerings, but I'm like, these are like algorithms. And I think once you learn something, you just keep the same fingering forever.
This is crazy that you're bringing up the fingering about it, because like that was, so this new round of the sonatas and partitas for solo violin that I just recorded.
Yep.
it's gonna feel like late night, like that, like my publicist set you up with this question, because it is one of the things I love talking about with Bach. I think disparate fingerings for the same passages in Bach is a relatively unmined, it's such fertile ground for like expression. You know how Bach has all of these. So like in the Allegro Assai from the C major sonata, there's all of these, and we're used to this. Like as fans of Baroque music, you hear this kind of thing all the time. So like, and then same exact music, but just he puts the little P there. Well, actually, it's not quite the same as it. So it's P, F, P. Same exact music that time, right? Yeah. And so the performance convention is to, you just observe that. You play one of them louder, you play one of them softer, and you got this nice little kind of Jack in the Box effect. But like, once you're deep into, so I'm recording the last 3 of them. I had this experience making this record where we talked a little bit about this last night. I voice memo things obsessively because I understand the power of wishful hearing. That's how any musician becomes the musician they are. You can wishfully hear so loud and accurately that you can start plucking those sounds out of your mind, soul, heart, and like pumping them through your fingers or your voice or your pen. That's wishful hearing. And you have to be good at it, and you have to be able to do it, with that kind of precision. The problem with being good at it is that often, once it's time to actually deliver that music to people, your wishful hearing is covering up the actual sounds that you're making. And the actual sounds that you're making are nowhere near as good as your imagination of what it is. Exactly. Right. And so thus, adhering to the Jack Black and Tenacious D, always record. And so that you can check in with yourself and just see how the reality of what you're playing matches that dream. And I would say it, not just when you're covering other people's music, but also when you're writing your own music. Because and if you can put yourself in your listener's chair, try and divorce yourself from it's one thing to write a lyric that's super emotionally charged, about a super emotionally charged topic for you. I've had these experiences. You hear this, I think great songwriters even will fall into the trap of like they're writing about something that's so important to them, that feels like so much to them, that they don't get it into the lyric. Right. Because those words mean so much to them in the context of their feelings. They're in the emotion of it. They're feeling it, but they're really not conveying it through what they're writing. It's not in the actual song. Okay, but that doesn't tell me about how many times it takes. Right. So, how do you get these reliable fingerings for these pieces? How do you even go learning these things? Do you actually read the scores? Yeah. First you read the score. And first, I would say you take the path of least resistance. No pride. You don't have to like sit there and really just work out that ring finger and pinky finger independence. You know, like for the sake of God, again, chase that ear, chase the literal ear. Yeah. Does this sound great? Do I love how it sounds? Hammer that into yourself until it feels as easy. What I realized as I started listening to these voice memos this time around, the first time around, I would listen to the voice memo. If I was cutting the piece, if it sounded like it to me, I was so happy. And you can hear that happiness on the first volume. And I think it comes off as sincere, and I feel like it comes off as good. But taking that same approach this time around, I started listening to the music, and it was not what I wanted to hear. Interesting. This shit sounded square, plodding, by rote. I felt like I was speaking the whole thing with an accent, like that wasn't my speaking voice. Like I was trying to put on airs or something. Like, hello, I should play Bach for you, and you, and And, you know, like my judgy bot ghost, who has always been there, was like, like anytime I'd maybe, oh no. Or like, and I also have a judgy Gould ghost, because I freaking love Gould's interpretation. He's there like, and, you know, even like, so one of my heroes, Edgar Meyer, is a mentor of mine, still is to this day, like, he's up there too. He's not even dead. And of course, none of them are, like, I have no idea if any of them are judgy. Certainly judgy of themselves. It's hard as they work, but and of course opinionated as all fuck and all that, just like I am. So, but with Bach, I realized, so when I cover a song, like a Radiohead song, you've got Radiohead, there they are.
Yep.
They sound great playing Radiohead.
That's what they do. They sound exactly like
they
Radiohead.
Sound exactly like Radiohead playing that song. And so if I'm gonna cover, like, you know, Morning Bell or something, like I'm not gonna try and like, what would Radiohead do? You've got it. We've got it.
We have
so
the
like,
definitive recording,
like,
as we said.
Yeah, True Love Waits. Like they did a couple different versions of it. I love the one off of Moonshaped Pool. But like, I'm gonna learn the song, figure it out, and then figure out what it means to me. That's what I do with that kind of music, or what I've always done with like a Bill Monroe tune, or just any fiddle tune. Like, look at the ease that you know, if it's a and one interesting thing is, like, you learn those things by ear, and there's not a score. Like, you don't learn St. Anne's Reel with a score. I mean, I guess some people do, but one doesn't generally. Or like, if I'm learning Radiohead, I'm like learning it by ear, and I'm embracing the various, like, as I put it in my speech. You know, my speaking voice is not like Tom York's speaking voice, and my speaking voice on St. Anne's Reel is not like a Cape Breton fiddler, and so I'm embracing those differences, and I'm relishing those differences, and I'm so comfortable in my body playing that music. So this time around, like, you know, you talking about like how much is that repetition? You know, how important is that repetition? How much are we talking? It's like enough to where you're not thinking about it at all, and can start getting out of your own way, as I realized I really needed to do. Not be satisfied with the fact that I can play the music, but like get to the point where I can put myself in the audience's chair and go like, do I like this? Does this sound sincere?
So do you need to have, like, with some of these rapid passages, you need to be able to play it almost twice as fast to feel, when you're playing it at the right tempo, that it's so easy to play, or that it needs to be so under your fingers that you can perform it at any time just by opening up your case, picking up your mandolin and playing it.
It really has to be there.
Yeah.
And especially in like a high,
because of the high pressure
stakes environment.
Yeah.
The way you feel your capacity diminishing.
Yeah.
You know, your technical capability is like, you feel it.
Okay, give me an example. Okay, if you were to go and play the C major fugue, okay, give me an example of something that would be really high pressure to play something like that.
Well, you know, first time you do it at Carnegie Hall, it's going to feel like something.
Yeah, right?
I remember the first time I played.
Are you nervous when you go out to do something like that? Would you be nervous?
Carnegie is an interesting, yes, like right up until the moment. There's a strange thing about some of those beautiful halls, is some of them, like Carnegie, some of them are Emperor's Close. Carnegie is not. That room sounds so good that thus far, you know, why did I do that? I got wood right here. So far, like, the childish delight that I feel when I hear the mandolin in that hall, it's like, here's a sound that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen a fair amount of shows at Stern. Actually, like, hot tip, the tiny room in Carnegie, there's 3. There's Stern, which is the famous one, and then there's Enkel, which is like medium, and then the little tiny one, Weil or Vile. I don't remember if the W is a special W or not. But that room sounds freaking amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're ever in New York and want to see something, hear something, they never amplify it ever in Weil or Vile, and it's gorgeous. But like when you get into that kind of environment, if it sounds that good, sometimes you can distract yourself by like this sort of
By just being in the moment of, wow, this sounds
this
amazing.
sounds so good, and like, ooh, I wonder what this next passage sound like. So instead of like, if I'm going along, let's take the like, this is freaking just death traps everywhere. This is the Al Reverso. I'm not saying it right, but like Al Reverso, like where he reverses the direction of the main fugue theme.
Yep.
And it's just so fine, right? Like all of this is this. One more last.
Oh my God.
What? Like that, so that section is just
That's insane. I know this section, and it's to watch it is.
it's a lot, right?
He probably wrote it in about 15 minutes. Probably not even.
Knowing that
He'd probably just
motherfucker.
like, oh, that's good, yeah.
So, and also that's coming, what, like 5-6 minutes into the piece?
Yeah.
So you've already been through a lot.
Are as that's coming up, are you kind of like, oh no?
You're like, you have to find ways to reset on these things.
Yeah.
So especially if it's like, this is 9 minutes, don't think about it like 9 minutes. Think about it like 3 minutes 3 times. And like that song's
This
done.
is actually this is a helpful strategy for people out there.
Like that song is now done, and now I'm going right into the next one.
Yeah.
Like flush it all out.
Yeah.
Like in freaking yoga when they're like, like, are you breathing? Are you remembering to breathe? Like, but like in Carnegie, sometimes like all of a sudden it's like, ooh, what does the Al Reverso section sound like in Carnegie freaking Hall? This is gonna be so exciting. And so then instead of like, oh my God, not only Carnegie, but like a lot of my colleagues are here tonight. And that's what really puts it into most of the musicians I know. Is usually it's not like the big room or the hallowed hall. It's like, oh, Brad Meldau's here tonight, or whatever, like Fiona Apple's here tonight. Like, oh my God, are these words any good? Like, oh my God, I can't fucking sing. Like all of that stuff goes, and then putting yourself in the mindset of, I'm making music.
Right.
I'm making music.
That's kind of important.
It. And like, we need people like me to make music.
Yeah.
We need it. And so even if it's not great, it's necessary. And it's what I do. And so like all of it goes away. I love when Fiona Apple plays music. I love it so much. And when I'm in the hall, I need it so bad. And so just put yourself back in that position. Take yourself out of this, like, of course, there's so many tropes, like remove yourself, remove ego from the situation. Like, you are providing a service. You are in the service industry. And like, these people ordered it, and all they need for you to do is bring it to the table. And like, just try and simplify the whole act as much as you can in those moments. Going through your fingerings many times helps.
What did you play? What Bach piece do you play when you were warming up here, when we were getting mic'd up?
Oh, that was the Allegro Sai. Oh, and I wanted to bring that into the conversation about fingerings because I think fingerings can also be, and everyone knows this, like the way that you finger something can be an expressive decision, not purely just getting the notes out.
Yeah.
Doing like, those chicken pickers, guys who do that, like that's different than going, same notes, but of course, it's a different way of, it's got a little something to it. So like in that Allegro aside, that's what I was warming up with.
Yeah.
And it's what I'm nervous to play tonight because I've never actually done it the way I want to try and do it.
Okay.
Is with those repeated sections, there's the like getting the notes out way. First position, totally easy. And then there's like, so just the way, if y'all follow how there's different places that this note can be found on the instrument. So you've got a lot of options, and of course, some of the most notable ones are like, can we get it open?
Yeah.
And then like with the mandolin, a fun thing that violinists don't necessarily have in their toolkit
is a strap.
Well, yes, that too. Is the fact that as long as you're, so yeah, we don't have much sustain. We can't drag the bow across the string for a long period of time and get that, beautiful, lyricism out of some of these lines. But the decay does last after the pick leaves the string.
Yes, yeah.
So in a fast section, we can actually start building notes upon notes if our left hand can hold the strings down. So if I go, that's the dynamic way of changing those lines.
Yep.
And I could go. Here's this, and then, and then this. Like that. And so then like
That's
the second,
beautiful.
So those are like the immediate repetitions.
Yeah.
But then of course, Bach writes, he writes the repeat at the end of the section. So you take the whole thing again. Not everyone takes them.
Yeah.
Gould often will take like the first, or a lot of people often take the first and not the second.
Right.
Some people don't take them at all. Like, again, total personal choice, and I love the multitude of choices that people could make about that. I found it fun this time to take all the repeats and just figure out how I was gonna keep myself entertained. And so like, there's this is the first time I'll do, I do a normal first position rendering of this. Right? And then the second time, I go. So again,
beautiful.
Right? So it's just kind of like this flowing, weird, like almost like you got the pedal down on a piano.
Yes.
And instead of going.
Yes.
So that I thought about this, but then I had to lose the G. So if I could go, I can keep them both ringing. Keeping the similar, finding that there instead of,
Yes.
One more. And then some slides. Here's a fun one. And the first time you go. The second time I go.
That's
So
so. Oh my
it's
God, that is
fun.
so hard to play, though, isn't it?
Well, this is,
That's where
Yeah, it's
standing
not-
up helps.
yeah. And getting a little introducing a little of that sort of spontaneous campfire energy that I'm
Yes,
such a deep part of me that I was so scared to inject into this this freaking hallowed ground. You know, this music that I have so much reference for. So like this, you know, almost sounds like a fiddle lick.
It does sound like a fiddle lick.
That's the normal fingering for me. But if I'm like, pull-offs and shit.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
So it's just it's a thing that I started messing around with almost like improvisatorily at first.
Yeah.
And then, but it's a bear, because now I'm like basically having to learn the piece twice.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing a different fingering for every single note at a certain point in the piece. And it's, as you know, see, I had to start and stop a couple times there. It's, you know, it's nerve-wracking, and it's a thing that I'm going to have to use all of the tricks that I've got to just, you know, slow the heart rate down. Remember that I play music. That's what I do, and that's all I'm doing here. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You know who could do it perfectly is AI, and like that's exactly what no one is coming to the concert to hear is clinical perfection. We're there to like celebrate humanity and try and feel a little bit better about being human at a time when it's hard to feel great about being human.
I still want to get you to play like a ripping fiddle tune.
Okay, let's see. Well, I started playing St. Anne's Reel. That's a gorgeous tune. I mean,
Do it.
that's a great song. Yeah.
Do it. Amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing.
I had to stop it because the old.
Chris.
What else did you want? Or is that good?
That's amazing. Dude, it blew me away.
Oh,
That's
you
incredible.
so much,
wow. You're welcome back anytime.
Rick, please.
Chris,
Because I feel like it's like a soul cleansing experience getting to talk music with you, my friend.
That was great.